You will know him best for his award-winning fiction, The Back of the Turtle, or perhaps The Inconvenient Indian. His stunning meditation on what it means to be Indigenous here in North America. Thomas King has written everything from novels and children's books to short story collections and murder mysteries, which is what brings him to our studios this morning. Cold Skies is the latest in his Dreadful Water mystery series. Thomas King is with us in studio this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You originally wrote this series under the pseudonym Hartley Goodweather.
Hartley Goodweather, yes.
So why did you use a pseudonym, and then consequently, why did you decide to drop it and go with Thomas King?
Well, when I brought the first book out, Dreadful Water, actually it was called Dreadful Water Shows Up then, I wanted to separate out my genre writing, my mystery writing, from literary fiction. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, what the heck, you know, other people use pseudonyms. I like pseudonyms, and so I came up with Hartley Goodweather. It's a joke. And that lasted for about, a couple of nanoseconds. And people said, well, that's Thomas King.
Could they tell?
Well, there was a little contest. We had a picture of me in my hat in the shadows, and it was guess who the Canadian writer is who wrote the Dreadful Water series. And everybody guessed the right answer, and so, and I don't think the first book at the point when it came out sold all that well. I think having Hartley Goodweather as a new writer on the scene didn't help, and so we switched back to me writing as Hartley Goodweather, so that's the way it's been since.
All right, well, this is the new book in this series.
It is, third book.
He is an ex-cop.
Yep.
He's trying to lay low until his friend calls him up and says, hey, Chinook, Montana needs a sheriff. Will you...
Well, not exactly that. He drives away from a pretty horrendous murder, which involves the woman that he was living with and her child. And he just winds up in Chinook and decides to take up a career as a fine art photographer to try to get away from police work. But the sheriff in the town knows he used to be a cop, and so he keeps dragging him back in again, and Thumps tries his best to keep out of there, and he doesn't succeed, of course. Why would he? It's a murder mystery. He should be drawn into those things, so he is.
I love where you've set this book in Chinook, Montana. I grew up, right around Great Falls, Montana, so I recognize the landscapes. Why base it in the U.S.?
Well, my partner is still angry with me about that. The reason I based it there, basically, was I needed a bunch of guns and a bunch of people shooting at one another, and the States does that better than Canada does. I didn't think anybody would believe this kind of mayhem in Alberta.
Fair enough. When you wrote the first installment of this book, in your writing process, you said you got stuck on the first chapter for years.
Yes, not on this one, but on the Back of the Turtle.
Right.
But I do have that kind of problems. I'll start a book without having any idea where it's going. It's a bad habit. I wouldn't recommend it for young writers. And then I'll rewrite the first chapter over and over and over again until finally I get some kind of traction. It's like being stuck in the snow and ice out on the prairie. Just spin the tires. Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. Well, obviously you've gotten unstuck because we are continuing to see these adventures. You have another book on the way.
We do. Actually, I've written the next 2 books in the series, and the 4th book will be coming out in January. And we have potentially a television deal going, possibly a series on Dreadful Water. And so that, if that happens, that'll keep me busy.
This seems to be a fun genre for you to write.
It is. I approach any of the books I write with the same seriousness. And I don't sort of knock off one book and then spend a lot of time on the other. But writing mysteries is fun. You've got your cast of characters together. They're kind of quirky, and I like them. They're friends. When I write literary fiction, I normally start off with nothing, and I have to figure out where I'm going with that. And so that part of the writing is a little bit difficult to figure all that out, whereas with Dreadful Water, I've got that template already in place.
Well, it's a very fun book to read, and we look forward to what else is coming in this series for you. Thanks for being in our studio this morning.
Thank you.